Hello, welcome to Screen Weens. I am one of your hosts, Thomas. This is the other one of your hosts, London. And today we're covering one of our favorite subjects on the show.
Munchie! It's back! We're talking about Munchie again!
We watched the two same movies. No, but in all seriousness, we love Lupin. And we're covering Lupin the Third, Part 6. We have now officially almost covered every part in some extent.
I haven't covered Part 3, and then Lupin Zero comes out in about a month.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for that. Yeah. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I'm pretty intrigued.
Yeah, but what have you been up to this week?
Well, we took a week off, so it's been 2 weeks. A lot, actually. I watched a lot of movies. I guess some really sad news. Jason David Frank passed away.
I heard about that.
He was the original Green Ranger. He was the White Ranger. He was the Black Ranger. He was like every fucking Ranger. And, you know, he was a pretty big part of my childhood. I know you never really watched Power Rangers. But, and he was just like a cool dude, too. So that, I was at work and my coworker was like, hey, you hear what happened? I'm like, no. And that kind of fucked me up.
Damn.
But outside of that, and outside of my brief illness, where I've been having a rough cough, not COVID. I checked twice. I'd be so pissed if I got COVID.
Yeah.
Because I'm, so safe about it. Outside of that, though, I've had a pretty killer last 2 weeks. It was just Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving, I watched 3 movies in the theaters, and then the next day I watched 2 more. So, let's go over all the stuff I watched in the last couple weeks. I watched The Menu.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
Way funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I really like that joke that's at the end of the trailer that I kept seeing. It's like the one where he's like, you told him it's my birthday? And they're like 3 hours ago. It seemed pretty funny.
I thought most of the humor in the movie I thought worked really well.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away. At one point, John Leguizamo's in the movie. And at one point he's like, why are you doing this to us? And the main villain of the movie is just like, I only have 1 day off a week. The last time I had a day off, I went to the movie theater and I saw a movie that you were in. And I hated it. Oh. That was the entire reason why he didn't want that.
That's pretty great. I kind of love that. Every time the trailer would play, when I would see it, because I saw it twice but spaced out, at different movies. When it started, I was always like, oh, is this the trailer for Knives Out 2? Because it kind of has similar vibes, it feels like.
But from the way the trailer was structured, later on, I felt like it was gonna be more not necessarily scary, but more horror-centric. It's definitely more comedic than it is. But like I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Let's see. I also I rewatched About Time, which I've been thinking about a lot. That's the one with Domhnall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams. It's like a romance movie, like a romance drama. His dad's played by Bill Nye, the British guy? One. Oh. No, and he's like, listen, the men in our families can go back in time. So he has this ability, so he's using it to try to get a woman to fall in love with him. But it's really good, actually. It's really good. Yeah, I really like that movie.
Isn't there not lessen this, but isn't there a Family Guy episode with that same plot? I think there might be.
Probably.
Not with the lineage thing, that feels more like a Dune thing, but pretty sure there's an episode where Peter keeps trying to he time traveled and fucked up his relationship with Lois, so he has to keep trying to go back and fix it or something. But yeah.
I watched a little, and it's been on my radar for a bit, but there's a little short film on Netflix, it's half an hour, called Robin, which is just about a little robin egg that falls down, and a group of mice raise it. And it's a little feature, little animated feature. It's a little musical, and the Robin's like, I'm a mouse. It's very cute. Who does the fucking... There's a cat in it, and it's voiced by Gillian Anderson.
Oh,
it's fantastic. And there's like a magpie in it who's like, you shouldn't want food, you should want things. And he just has a bunch of like junk all around, and he starts singing about how much he loves junk. And it's Richard E. Grant is voicing him. And overall, it was a really nice, like, just peaceful movie. Mm-hmm. And then I watched a movie called Tom Popo, which I'd heard some really good things about. And I'm like, I gotta be using this Criterion subscription. And it was, when it came out, it was heralded as the first ramen western. Ramen western. Because spaghetti western is like western movies made by like Italian studios. And this is in Japan, and it's about like a ramen restaurant. But the like tone of it and the presentation is supposed to be kind of like reminiscent of a western. It's very strange, but it's all about like a woman trying to make like the best ramen shop. It's delightful. I really liked it.
Interesting.
And then my theater endeavors, I saw Bones and All, which is the new Luca Guadagnino film. Guadagnino?
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I know who you're talking.
That guy, Luca, my boy. It's great. It's amazing. It's so weird.
Yeah, that doesn't. His work, like from what I've seen, he hits like every time.
I think this one's really interesting because he really wants to blend a bunch of genres together, and I think it works exceptionally. And Timothée Chalamet is fantastic, but I think her name's Taylor Russell.
Oh, okay. I've seen the trailers for this. I didn't realize he was directing.
Yeah, no, that's it. And Taylor Russell, she's fantastic in it. I that day, so Bones and All was the first one, but that day, the 3 movies I watched, it might have been like the best movie-going experience I've ever had. Just from how much I liked all 3 movies. The second movie I watched was Glass Onion, Knives Out 2.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
It's out?
Yeah, they're doing a 1-week theatrical run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it's a Netflix movie. Netflix bought the rights to it. And it's selling out everywhere. And everyone's like, yeah, what a great idea. Just 1-week run when they could have just made a wide release and made a bunch of money.
Yeah, I never understand that mindset. But I guess they want to save the theater space for whatever fucking Marvel's kicking out or whatever.
I thought it was pretty great. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I think it might be my least favorite Rian Johnson movie in general, but I really like most of his movies. And I really like this one. I just think there's a lot of like backtracking that they do later on in the movie when like they're unraveling that internal mystery. And I think they take a little too long to do it. That it starts to kind of run out of steam. I also think the first like 20 minutes kind of takes a little bit to set up everything. But outside of that, I thought it was great. And then I watched The Fabelmans, which is the new Spielberg movie, which is like a fictionalized autobiography, pretty much. It's about him as a kid. His Sammy Fabelman instead of Steven Spielberg. His dad is played by Paul Dano.
I think I may have seen some stuff for this movie floating around.
It was really incredible.
Oh, really?
I cried a lot. I cried like 8 times. There's a lot of like sad divorce stuff and like parental trauma and stuff that like hit me hard. But in general, I just like it was fantastic. I loved it. I don't think this is really a spoiler. There's a cameo in the last scene. David Lynch plays John Ford. And he has an eye patch. And the final scene is Steven Spielberg or Sammy Fabelman. He's like, oh, I get to meet John Ford. I'm so excited. And he's like, so I hear you want to make pictures. And then he's just like, look at that fucking painting. And he's like, where's the horizon? And it's at like the bottom. And then he's like, and now look at that painting. And he's like, where's the horizon? It's at the top. And he's like, the horizon at the bottom? That's interesting. The horizon at the top? That's interesting. The horizon in the middle? That's fucking boring. Now get the fuck out of my office. And that's the final shot, like, scene of the movie.
I love that. I love that David Lynch is out there getting some work. It's supposedly, I've heard, they're just kind of rumors. I know he's like working on a new movie, but I hear like rumors that it's like done and might be like coming out like for.
I can see him just being like,
Cam.
I secretly made a movie.
Yeah. Regardless, I'm excited for whatever it is. I've been kind of craving some new David Lynch content.
You can go watch the Monkey movie again.
I can go watch the Monkey movie again. I've been kind of lending some thought towards maybe retrying Twin Peaks now that a few years have passed and I haven't watched it in a while.
I need to watch that eventually.
Yeah. The first season's really good. It's the first half of the second season and the finale of the second season's pretty good. The second season as a whole has its like merit, but I'm sure you've heard that like David Lynch left for a little bit and then came back for the finale.
Yeah.
But
I've heard the return's really good. For most people. There's one person I know like that I talked to recently and he's like, I don't like it.
I really want you to watch The Return because Matthew Lillard's performance in it is so good.
That's what I've heard.
It's like honestly probably the best I've seen from him, but I haven't seen SLC Punk, so I can't comment. So
God, I love that movie.
But he gives a fucking step. He's not like a major character, but he's so good in it. But anyway,
yeah. So, but The Fabelmans, I thought was incredible. If you have time to watch it, I think it's fantastic.
Is it on?
It's currently in theaters.
Oh, okay.
And then the next day, I saw the new Disney movie Strange World, which is bombing horribly because I bet you haven't even heard of it.
No,
because they have not done like any press for it. I've seen like a couple of trailers in the movies, but it's like, oh, why is it bombing? And I'm like, huh. And it's obviously an excuse because Disney, like, this has a gay main character. Like, it's blatantly. And it has a lot of, like, black people as main characters. I'm like, are you just gonna use this as an excuse to not put these, like, types of people in movies now? Because, like, sorry, we tried, but it bombed.
No, I definitely... it was probably intentional. I feel like studios do that because... they definitely do that sort of shit, but on a less real note, but like with like the Dragon Ball Super movie, like they didn't promote that movie at all, but it had been like kind of delivering things that a lot of fans had wanted, even if it was done in fan servicey ways. So it's like sometimes it's like you could have a very successful piece of media here, but then you just like choose to fucking like chokehold it and not give it any marketability.
Yeah,
and it's like. I realize probably a lot of people would be like, oh, but Disney is a big company. They don't need to market their movies. But it's like, that's not true, especially when they are, they produce so much. It's like, yeah, they especially have to market their movies.
I just realized I also watched, had I rewatched Knives Out? Okay. I rewatched Knives Out and that same day, this is actually ties into that conversation we were just having. I watched a movie called The Apostle, which is from 2012, and it is like a Spanish language stop motion movie that I really liked, but it was like commercially really poorly received. And to the point that like the distributors just stopped after like 2 weeks or something. Like they didn't even give it a wide release.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really been it hasn't been released since. Like it's to the point that the director of the movie, I watched it on his YouTube channel. He uploaded it and he has a link being like, hey, can you come donate? Because we still haven't made the money back because the distributor's a piece of shit. And it's like,
it really is fucking sad to see that shit happen so frequently, especially to like fucking people who aren't just fucking rolling in the dough or fucking...
Or making an MCU movie.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh.
Strange World was not great. It was okay. Jake Gyllenhaal is like one of the main characters, and his dad is played by Dennis Quaid.
Oh.
Which is really weird.
Interesting.
There's a lot of fun, sad dad stuff in that, which is like one of my favorite things to watch in a movie. I love the sad dad, sad mom stuff. That's good. But it's just like, I kind of felt a little uninspired, especially because it's supposed to be this like big pulpy like action adventure with this like huge like world that is strange, but it doesn't ever feel like, it has a whole lot of creativity in that strange world. But then I watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is also in theaters.
Oh, yeah. I've been hearing some buzz around that.
Yeah, it's long. It's too long.
How long is it?
It's 2 hours. But I think what they're trying to do with it, what's in the movie, I think it's too much length for what they're trying to do with it. Also, I don't like Pinocchio. Like the story, the original movie, everything since, I don't like it. This one I do think is very good, despite a bit, I think it's a little long, but Ewan McGregor plays Jiminy Cricket, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Animation looks incredible. The whole, aesthetic of the movie is fantastic. It's also set in, World War II fascist Italy, which is a really interesting choice. And I think, just really works for the movie. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really happy that I got to see that made, because that's one of those movies that he's been trying to make for forever.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember hearing about it quite a few years back, and I was pretty surprised that it's just now, coming to fruition, especially since he's not, a small director. Yeah, I mean, the industry might treat him like one.
Yeah, that's the weird...
Yeah, it's just
and then I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special is out.
Yeah, I've seen people posting about it.
I really liked it.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I like James Gunn's directing, and I also think his writing on characters is it's nice because it seems like he genuinely cares for the characters he's writing, and he cares about keeping them consistent. I don't really care as much as other people oh, they have to be comic accurate. I don't care. I just want them to be consistent through projects.
Oh, yeah. It's nice if it can capture the spirit of the comics, but it's never going to be a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
Which I'm real excited because I've heard rumors that he himself personally might be directing the next Superman movie they do. In which case it's oh yeah, I'm all in then, because I have faith that he can write a decent script for that at the very least, which is the main thing it needs.
Yeah. And I think James Gunn, when it comes to serious moments, is really good with it. I think his jokey moments usually land for me, but I think you might need to scale it back a little bit for some of the Superman stuff.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe just I think there is enough Superman stuff that it's kind of boyish humor, fun, goofy charm. James Gunn, I think, especially in the recent years, really, really crass jokes, which I think land. I don't know if I'd feel like they land if they were coming from Superman, though.
Yeah, no, I imagine a lot of the humor probably will be people bouncing quips off Superman, kind of like the original movie does, where it's wow, you're such the perfect Boy Scout of a person. I don't know how to...
Thank you.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But yeah, I thought the holiday special was really fun. And then I rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once last night.
I still need to watch that.
You have it on Blu-ray if you want it to borrow.
I'll probably stream it at some point.
It's really something special. I really, really like it. Yeah, so I've had a pretty great week for movies. What about you? Have you done anything?
Not movie-wise now. Fucking, what's it called? I beat The Last of Us 1, which was pretty good. I was really liking it in the middle, and then kind of towards the back end, I started to feel like it was starting to feel a little by the numbers for that story format. But then it kind of proved itself to be more aware of its characters than I thought it was going to be. So that kind of hit me with an unexpected ending that I was kind of stuck with me. I'm still kind of processing it. And then I was playing through some of the TMNT games for the Cowabunga collection. And yeah, those are fun. And then I started watching, I made it part way into season 2 before I've kind of dropped off this last couple days, but I was watching the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon from the 80s.
Nice. I don't think I've ever seen the 80s one.
It's decent.
I've seen pretty much all of the 2003 one.
Yeah. there's a lot of it, so I imagine a lot of it's not decent. I had a couple of the tapes growing up, so I was like always vaguely familiar with that version of the Turtles. I really didn't watch many of the cartoons. I was always more into the movies. But yeah, the one cartoon I remember watching as a kid, by the time I finally got into the Turtles was when they jumped to the future, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
It's part of the 2003 one.
Yeah, but it was kind of rebranded as a
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Fast forward!
Yeah.
I remember. Which is weird. I think they did that for 2 seasons, and then the final season of that show, they go back to the regular
But it's
time.
like a different art style. I was like thumbing through
something like that. I don't know if I ever watched the final season.
Yeah, I don't think I ever caught any of that. But
I've been thinking about rewatching it because I remember really liking that show.
I really want to watch the. It's not streaming anywhere from where I find, but you can find the DVDs of it. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, which is like a '90s live action one where they're a little bit older and they have like a new turtle that they introduce named Venus de Milo. And they actually cross over with the Power Rangers in one of the episodes, so interesting. But
I know they have a crossover in comics right now too, and I'm pretty sure in the comics for TMNT, semi-recently they introduced a new turtle.
Oh yeah, that is right. I think there's like a couple. It's like a turtle, and there's a couple other like mutant characters that aren't turtles that are like kind of hanging out in the crew. I've been thinking about reading something like the IDW comics, but
I just have so many comics to read.
Yeah, I feel it.
I read a lot. Or I've been trying to read a lot. I've been trying to read every night again. Because I used to. And I feel that's good for me to read every night. Instead of just like, go on TikTok.
Yeah, I feel it.
Jerk off and then go to bed. I'm like, maybe I read a bit instead. That might be a little better for my brain.
Perhaps.
Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much been it. Aside from that, been read the Hunter x Hunter.
I have dropped off.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I'm not that far, so we're gonna record next week. I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I talked about it last time. Did I talk about this book?
Yes.
Lost Stars? Okay. Because I finished that in like 4 days. And that was such a high point for me that I'm like, I don't want to go back to reading something I don't like.
I mean, that's fair if you don't like it. I admit the beginning of Hunter x Hunter is very bland. But I'm at a point in the series where I'm finding myself enjoying it, as good. I always have. So it's like, okay.
I mean, I want to enjoy things. I'm just like, it's not clicking for me.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't click, it can't be blamed.
Yeah.
I'm interested to actually talk about it on Read Weens and see if we can untie this knot. I want to see your perspective on it. But yeah. Yeah. Lupin the Third. Wow.
Let me see. I don't think we have any questions from Pierre. Nope. So yeah, Lupin the Third, Part 6. Yeah. It's, man, what happened in this one? It's just been a week since I watched it.
Yeah, it's been about a week since I watched it. It's the one with, this is the season where it's Sherlock Holmes, and then the back half is Lady Tomoe.
2 like big overarching things, and like these they have same like with parts 4 and 5 they have smaller little adventures. They're like one-off adventures, but these all kind of tie together thematically and kind of plot-wise at the very end.
Yeah, for the majority of this one I was like, oh, this one's got more like filler episodes.
It was like, it wasn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't filler. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll get to that.
I think the first thing that really hit me in this one is there's a lot of CG cars in this one.
No.
In comparison to the other ones. I don't like, it doesn't really bother me, but I definitely do miss... You lose a little bit of the kind of bounciness of the Lupin car when it's a CG one.
Yeah, or at least if it's a bad CG one. Yeah, I can see that. I'd say overall I did like this part probably about equally that I like the other two parts that we've covered that have been secretly one part. It's just different seasons to one part, but I'll call them by their respective names. But I found myself missing certain qualities from other Lupin when I was watching it this time around. Like, I feel like the shtick with their formula is kind of starting to dry up a little bit. Because, like, not that I think that it's bad or anything. I don't. I like it, and I will definitely probably watch it again in the future. But, like, I think I'm kind of tired of the great at everything, like, kind of cool, suave Lupin that's been presented in these modern parts. I kind of like my Lupin a little bit goofy and failing upwards, kind of like in the part 2 era a little bit. At least a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's too cool. Not that I think it's bad or anything, it's just like I'm starting to crave a different form.
I think it also comes from the fact that, like, if we were watching this as they came out, we would have seen these, like, what? We would have watched it, and then 2 years later we would watch the next one, so I think it would have been much different, but I can definitely see that while we watched it in, like, 2 months we watched all 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
I like the cool Lupin, I like the goofy Lupin. Lupin's an interesting character because I'm kind of just like, you can do whatever. I like him.
Yeah.
Like him whatever. He's cool.
Like, I think it's good, but I feel like it could be, like, better.
That's fair. I think I like part 6 a lot. I do think it's probably my least favorite of definitely the newer ones. I think I probably still like it more than part 1, but...
Yeah, the episodes I like in part 1, I really like in part 1, but there's also a lot of, like, duds in part 1, so...
Well, this one I was like, this was pretty consistent, I think. I like a lot of it. I like a lot of the side ones that aren't necessarily just Lupin. I also like that this one has more episodes with Lupin and, like, one other person. Like, they don't just give, like, solo episodes. They do give solo episodes to other people, but it's also like, here's Lupin and Jigen episode, and it's just them or something like that. Like, that was fun.
Yeah. Although I do still feel like Jigen and Goemon, particularly, like in the last few parts, have been kind of just not a whole lot of time to shine. But it'll always, like, kind of, like, circle back around, and, like, there'll always be a really forced, like, but it's because of you guys. And it's like, you're supposed to take the legacy with it and be like, yeah. But I imagine, like, for newer fans, they're like, why is Lupin, like, so cherished with these people? They barely fucking interact in these new series.
That's fair. I think it's probably the worst in this one specifically.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like they have a little more to do in the last couple parts. This one is just... They make
Lupin and Sherlock, which is, like, fun, and I kind of like Sherlock in this, and I like this, like, rivalry. I'm like, that's a weird rivalry. I'm into it.
Yeah, no, I liked it, and I like that they acknowledged that,
the
like...
part 2 callback.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I thought that plotline was kind of interesting. I thought that they didn't milk it for all the potential it was worth.
Yeah, I think both of them kind of end pretty abruptly and don't really...
Yeah.
It feels like both of them are ones that could have warranted a whole season of, like, if they properly structured it and had, like, some filler inside. But they're both, like, half-season ones. I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, and it was weird to see that, like, unlike the last 2 seasons, like, the 2 plot lines didn't end up crossing at some point.
Yeah, at all, yeah.
And I felt like that there were points that they were introducing where I was like, I don't really see what the point of this was, aside from, like, a fan servicey cameo. Like, Albert shows up a little bit in the first half.
Yeah, and then he does. I'm like, oh, cool, because I thought they were going to do the thing.
Yeah, but then they don't do anything with him, and it's like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
And, so there were some weak aspects like that I thought that have been kind of prevalent in all these modern parts, but were really coming to a head for me here. But yeah, some things that I do really like about this part in particular. I like the low stake or it's not like low stakes, but compared to like clone Da Vinci flying around Italy.
I love the clone Da Vinci.
It's relatively more grounded. Like, I think the idea of like Lupin dealing with like a sleeper agent conspiracy is like really fascinating and could have been like a much grander story had it not been kind of shoehorned into like one episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this part still.
Yeah. Did you watch episode 0?
No, I didn't. They're never in the batches I download, and I always forget about them.
You should watch it because it was. You should also watch it subbed. Because
really?
They made the part as a goodbye to Jigen's original voice actor because he retired after that. So it was the last thing he did. And then the rest of part 6 is the newer Japanese voice actor.
I see. Huh. Well, good for him. I'm glad.
And it's like a thematically relevant episode because he's like, I can't stand these newfangled machines. Everyone's fun.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I love me a good Jigen episode, and they are surprisingly kind of hard to come by. Yeah. But I will say, Jigen probably holds my favorite moment in this entire part. There's a part. It's like the final episode or the second to final episode, but Fujiko's like in the room with Goemon and Jigen after fucking Lupin gets like fucking awoken into his sleeper agent mode for a second.
We already said it.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we had prefaced spoilers. And like Fujiko's going on, she's like, he embarrassed me. I'm gonna have to slap him. And like Jigen literally just stands up and goes, yeah, I know, I want to smack that ass. And I was like, it got me so off guard. I loved it though, because it was just like, there's only one conclusion you can come to from that. And that's that Jigen wants to smack that ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, just that line kind of took me back to like, I don't know. I know I'm always like comparing Lupin to part 2, but part 2 is like so good to me. I love it on so many different levels. And one of the aspects I really like, I'm a fan of a little bit of localization when it comes to like dubbing and stuff. Yeah. Like, I know that there are some people out there who like really like the 1-to-1 translations, and I think that that's fine for like subtitles and stuff. But like when you're dubbing a series, I like it to, maybe take some liberties here and there to add a little more impact.
Definitely does that.
And part 2 definitely does that, and I love it for it because it's funny. And yeah, that just kind of reminded me of like part 2's dub a lot. So it was like, yes. So yeah, I really enjoyed that specific line.
I really like Jigen's episode in this one. Last Bullet.
The one with where he's protecting Sherlock's daughter. Yeah. That I did really like that
because like pretty much it's been a through line where throughout pretty much the whole series where he's definitely attached to his gun, and especially in the last couple of parts he's definitely called old man a lot more, and he's showing his age and stuff. And I don't know, I really like that episode. It's like, my gun's breaking. He's like, but I refuse. I gotta keep using it.
Yeah. No.
And then the fucking final shot, he shoots a guy and the gun explodes on him, and and he has to get through a bulletproof vest. But good thing the gun exploded and the fucking whole barrel of it went into the gun.
Yeah, no, that was really good. I did really like that episode, and I liked it because it wasn't the typical Jigen shit, because it's like, we'll put Jigen in a situation where he's dealing with like a very captivating woman that'll end up betraying him in the end. It's like they always try to put him into like a Lupin type role, but he always denies it.
I really like the setup for the one in part 4 where he's just like, I have a toothache, I'm at the dentist.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. There's one in part 2 that we didn't cover. It's in the second season, but that I really liked. That I think is like the quintessential example of like that formula for Jigen. But I did like that part. That was in part 4, right? Or part 5?
Yeah. The dentist one was the part 4.
Yeah, I did really like that one. I think there was another one in part 5 where he was like... I think he was like bodyguarding for someone after so long.
I think it's part 5. It might have been part 4. There might have been 2 in
No, I think I'm getting that mixed up with a bit that might be in The Woman Called Fujiko Mine. I don't know. We watched a lot of those like very close to each other, so they all blend together. Especially since I was watching so much extra Lupin specials at that period too. So it was like, but yeah, part 6. I'm trying to think. I guess we can talk about the first half a little bit.
So this Sherlock Holmes is like, hey, I'm Sherlock Holmes.
The third.
No, I think it's just Sherlock Holmes because didn't you? What? Do you have a grandson or something?
Yeah, they made the reference to Sherlock the Third, but yeah. So it's him, and he's basically kind of stepped away from the detective life because his valuable partner John Watson has died, and he's got his daughter, and he's basically just trying to raise her. So he's trying to take less dangerous cases, stuff that'll get him a lot of money for little work, essentially. And yeah, Lupin smashes back into his life, and it turns out that he may or may not have been involved in Watson's murder. Ooh. It's surprise, he was not. He was just there when it happened. He was
just there.
Because, he's doing a job. And, so there's basically, like, this hooded figure and this, like, basically, like, British Illuminati organization known as Raven. I've never heard of Raven before. I don't know if it's created specifically for the show or if it's based on a real conspiracy. I'm not British. I don't know.
Thank God you're not.
I'm just, I guess I'm not, I don't think I'd be, I'm Irish technically, so I don't know if I'd necessarily.
So we're gonna burn down the British monarchy.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like, yeah. He's trying to uncover who really murdered Watson and blow a hole in Raven, which
already had a hole blown in it. I actually like that reveal quite a bit.
Yeah, I did too.
It's revealed, so spoilers, the thing we've been talking about the whole time. It turns out it was Detective Lestrade, who was pretty much like one of their friends. And he, like, it's kind of revealed that he didn't even really want to do it, but he just really wanted to impress Raven. And Lupin's like, guess what? Raven's a husk of itself. Like, nothing really even exists for the organization. You were working to do nothing. And it kind of breaks his mind. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, basically, like, Raven came, like, shortly after it was created, and they're, like, operating on, like, ghost orders that have just echoed throughout the centuries. So he's like, oh, what the fuck?
Reminds me of that, story about the island in, like, Japan or whatever that after World War II.
Are you talking about the one soldier who?
It was like 15 years after or something, and there was the group of soldiers that were still like hunkered down.
Oh, I haven't heard about a group. I know that there was specifically one soldier who was like he wasn't actively like fighting that entire time. He was like hiding out and surviving. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were multiple cases of that happening, I guess, if it happened to one guy. But yeah, what's it called? Yeah, so it turns out that the detective, or he's like a sergeant in the Sherlock Holmes books. I haven't read any of them. I looked it up because I was like, the whole time I thought he was a character from like one of the last two parts, but I couldn't remember who he was.
He looks like Nix.
Yeah, so the whole time I'm like, do I know this?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to know who this? Sometimes with these parts, we'll be following a character for so long, and I'll be like, am I supposed to know who this is at this point, or is this a new character that you're introducing to me? I did the same thing in the like second to last episode when it's the girl like vlogging about her like mother. Mm-hmm. I was like looking at her, and I was like, have I met this? Is this a character I've met before, or is this new?
When I see Lupin on the screen, I do the same thing. Like, who is that?
Every time I see someone who looks vaguely like a monkey, I'm like, is that Lupin in disguise back there? I know it is. And it's always worse when it's somebody who sounds kind of like Tony Oliver. I'm like, ooh, but then that particularly this happens in part 2 a lot because I was watching part 2 and I would constantly do that, and then it would just turn out to be a completely different character. Like, oh, okay, well then. But yeah, yeah. So he ends up being remorseful, but I think Zenigata arrests him, right? I don't remember.
Yeah, Zenigata's like there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, stop, I know the true mystery.
Yeah.
And Sherlock's like, thanks. And like him and Lupin share a tender kiss. And then they marry and live happily ever after.
And Fujiko's really upset at that.
No, she lives with them. It's fine.
I see. She still comes around and gets some treasure every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. When are we gonna get that Zenigata part? We need to cover that live action thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to track down like a localization. I don't know if there's like streaming of it, but I'll figure it out. Because I think I'm not sure if it had 1 or 2 seasons, but.
Yeah, but yeah, so that pretty much concludes that part. Sherlock goes back to becoming like a father figure again, and he's like, all right, well, now that we've solved basically the murder of my partner and best friend, and I can go back to raising his daughter. Because, like, I guess Watson had specifically, like, left some dying words to Lupin where it's basically like...
Because he thought he was Sherlock.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's like, yeah, take care of my daughter. I was like, all right.
So Lupin's like, sorry, I was taking care of the daughter. I was just doing what I was asked to do.
Yeah. You gotta love Lupin and his dedication.
Yeah. He's a good man.
Yeah.
I do like how righteous he is in most of these newer ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they've done a good job at kind of, like, bringing him into the modern age in that regard. Because, like, depending on who's writing him, I could see Lupin being a very creepy character. Yeah. But he's always done pretty good, especially in these new series. So there's some yikes moments in some of the older ones here and there.
Yeah. But yeah. Even for the most part, there's not a ton.
Yeah, it's surprisingly far and few between. But yeah, then Lupin strikes up a relationship. Not really a relationship, but like a kind of relationship with Flower Girl.
Flower Girl. I like this stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Flower Girl. What is her name?
I don't remember.
Val. No.
Because, I mean, spoiler alert, is she even going by her real name at that point? I don't remember.
No.
Okay.
Matea is what he meets her as.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, she's a flower. She works at, like, a flower shop, and it's close to a location he's, like, using to basically like keep tabs on a job he's going to be doing. I don't even remember what the job was. It's like robbing a bank or something. But so he kind of like he's dressing up as an old man and just keeps buying continuous flowers so he can basically like put little nano bug tech on it so he can like literally bug this auction house. And yeah, it works seemingly, but then it doesn't work because I forgot they like put like a hologram making it look like the items are stolen when they're not, so he could go in and just steal it.
They're like, oh god, they're all gone.
Yeah, but the robbery is crashed when a group of gun-toting, red-headed like robbers show up and basically hijack the prize and skedaddle and put a lot of lives at jeopardy, including a rock hitting Matea on the head. And it's like, oh. So Lupin basically abandons the treasure.
He cares more about women.
He does. That's his real treasure. Yeah, he goes down, makes sure she's okay, and she seems fine, but something has changed.
Something's afoot.
But yeah, basically, I think it was at this point, I think it was before they initially took off, but they basically name dropped this woman named Miss Tomoe, who apparently taught Lupin. And then he's like, yeah, that's my mom. And
like, what? And the episode ends. He's like, just kidding. It's not really my mom, but, I called him.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, she was a woman that my grandfather hired to tutor me and teach me the ways of theft. And, then she tried to steal something from a vault and got shot and died. That's all I really know. But now there's this mysterious person who seems to know their work and knows that I was a student of theirs. So he's just very intrigued, and he's like, well, I have to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
So he begins investigating, and by that, I mean, not really. There's just a bunch of random little one-off episodes, which I absolutely do not mind, because I kind of prefer my Lupin episodic, if I'm being entirely honest. So I enjoyed a lot of these little romps. I think one of my favorite ones is the one where Goemon becomes a model. That
Lupin's just like, is that... He shows up and they look so flabbergasted. There's like...
Yeah, because they weren't expecting it.
Because he said he was going to go train, and he, as far as they know, he's still in like the fucking Arctic or whatever, fighting icebergs.
Yeah, because he's basically out there doing that, and I don't know what she's doing out there, but this...
She needs to get inspiration.
Yes.
And she found it.
It's like Frankenstein and his creation out there, just out in the ends of Earth for no reason. Well, I guess Frankenstein and his monster had a reason, but I guess the search for Inspirato is reasonable.
That one was really good. There is an episode, a one-off episode. I think it was before the Sherlock one was done, but it was the Black Diamond one, which was actually the pepper.
Yeah.
I like that episode.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty good.
I specifically like that episode because, like, the grandmother is just, like, gets out of her wheelchair, and the granddaughter's just like, what are you doing? She's like, I mean, I never said I had to use this.
Yeah, that part kind of got under my skin. I was like, oh, I would be pissed.
Yeah, I like how the granddaughter's just like, okay.
Weird, but fine.
I like that episode. I like all the one-off episodes in this quite a bit. I think my main issue with the it's not even like a huge issue. I just think both of these, if they were going to do like a big grandiose plot, they could have both been longer. They both feel like they cut off too abruptly.
And I really don't. So, spoiler for the second arc. It's like big reveal. I really don't care much for the through line that, like, all these, like, fun, unrelated characters.
Every woman you've ever touched has been under my spell.
Yeah, basically, because
hypnotizing.
Tomoe is, like, a master fucking brainwasher, and she basically has just, like, planned...
sleeper agents everywhere in the world.
Yeah, she's manipulated all these women into leading these lives, and, like, it's like... Well, that's fucking dark.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god, okay. And then, yeah, most of them, I mean, the note that it ends off on, it's like, okay, I mean, most of them seem fine and happy, but it's just a really dark undertone that's there. And it's just like...
I don't even mind that. I think my main issue is, like, there isn't really any lead up to that as a like reveal. It's just like, hey, guess what? Like, come on.
The only one that gives any sort of indication is Matea.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that one I was fine with because there had been some build up to it, but yeah, the rest of them it just felt like so like left field.
Was it Matia?
It might have been Matia.
I think it was Matia. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that sounds more right.
Yeah. That's probably correct. But yeah, so it's just like yeah.
But like I like the idea behind it. I think it's a decently compelling. It just doesn't really
the execution was
feel like a deserved reveal. And I think that like I like most of the last episode. I like most of like the brainwashing. I really like some of the last things. And although I think it's relying quite a bit on the legacy of the characters, I really like some of the dialogue he says about
I do too.
Like his friends.
It just would have been nice.
When she's like, I've been revealing all these fascinating women to you. And he's like, you see these three nincompoops right here? They're the most fascinating people in my life. And I was like, hell yeah! But I get it. I get that they didn't have... Yeah. That's why I like the episodes when it's just like him and one other. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that if they had like a whole season, like if part 6 was him and Sherlock, mm-hmm. and then part 7 was this Tomoe is in the background and they're kind of doing more episodic but kind of reveals these slowly. And he has a lot of episodes with just him and one other. Mm-hmm. I think it could have like worked fantastically.
Yeah, no, I definitely think with some restructuring and some manipulation like that throughout, it could have been could have like pulled it off a lot harder. That as it stands, I still do like the moment because I mean I am familiar with the legacy of these characters, so it did hit home for me. It's like, okay, yeah. I'm just imagining like the person on Toonami who's checking it out for the first time and is like, who the fuck is that guy in that hat and that samurai?
It's like I actually think that part 4 and 5 work fine as their own thing. I think part 6 really relies on like the legacy of its characters.
Yeah, mostly. I'd say part 5. Well,
part 5, its finale definitely is like, look at all these people. And it's like,
yeah, I don't even
know who some of those characters are.
I don't think it like relies on it as like a crutch, but like the legacy is present. It tried to feel like kind of a send off for the character in certain regards, and then I mean, obviously, it was never going to end. It was just more of a confirmation of like solidifying
50 years.
Solidifying, like, yeah, we're never going to change, and we love it. And it's like, yeah, okay, I like Lupin, so yeah, I'm totally okay with that. As long as, like, changes happen on, like, a micro level.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be honest, needs a new jacket. Let's go with gold.
Yeah, gold would be a good one. Gold, yellow. I'm a big advocate for purple.
Purple jacket Lupin, let's fucking go.
He definitely does need a new jacket. Fucking
parka Lupin. I want
a new jacket, and I want a slight tweak to his personality.
Yeah, like make him hotter.
Maybe I just need to watch part 3 because I haven't seen it, but I'm craving some crazy Lupin.
I know part 3 gets pretty,
and I know that one's weird. So maybe that's the bit of the formula I'm just missing out on because I never got tired of that version of the characters.
And I mean, there's a lot of episodes of part 2, so maybe once we watch all of that, and then I think there's like 50 episodes of part 3, so maybe if we had watched all that, because like in retrospect there's what 69 72 episodes of part 4 through 6. That's not even close to like part 2, so I don't necessarily think the like using this characterization of him is like worn out on me as for now at least.
Yeah, no. I admit part 2's definitely got the most wear on it, which is, I mean, I'm not even advocating for Red Jacket Lupin. It's just kind of my watermark of quality. So.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But he is used in a lot of the specials and shit. So.
Yeah. There's also a line I really like from Fujiko in this, and it's when they're in the rain.
I like that. I like that.
And she's like, the only woman that can have control over you is me. I'm like, hell yeah, Fujiko!
Yeah, it's charming in that way that only it could be charming in the context of their relationship. And it was very...
I just love their relationship, so I'm like, fuck yeah.
And it was very sad to see him just not biting.
Yeah.
And I was like, something's wrong. But yeah, and when he's like, all you ever do is trick me, I was kind of hoping it was going to blossom into like an actual conflict.
Yeah,
but it didn't.
Well, and that's what in that final scene, like when he's like regaining his stuff, and you see this like dream sequence kind of thing where he's seeing his friends again, like in his like perfect dream. I think that could have been a whole episode. Like there are like big arcs in this that I think could have been expanded upon. I think the final confrontation is really abrupt. And it's like, I really want to like this one as much as I did part 4 and 5, but I just don't think the finales were as strong for me, I guess. And like, I like both of the ideas in these 2 arcs, and I just need, just spread them out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I feel you on that one.
Let me think what the other fucking like one-offs were. They had another like Lupin game-esque one where the lady had the
Are you talking about the mermaid one?
No, the Lupin game was in part 5 when it was like, I got cameras everywhere. This one is just, but this one is like, I know the perfect solution. Everyone dresses Lupin. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. I was like, are they really doing another episode like this? But then when they did that, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah, the only thing that could have made it better is if they had all somehow dressed as Zenigata again. I love that bit. Yeah, that was a good one. There's the mermaid one, which, that one was okay. I didn't.
There were 2 episodes in this that were directed by Mamoru Oshii.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Angel's Egg, Ghost in the Shell guy. You can probably guess one of them.
Hold on, because I haven't...
There's a really weird one in this that,
I could see maybe, like, one of the early episodes that focuses on the executioner, because that kind of strikes me as his style. I'm trying to think, because I'm, like, a week removed, and it's, like, mostly gone from my head at this point. Let me get a look at the episodes. I won't look at... I'll look them up on... Fuck. They're not on Crunchyroll. Let me see. Lupin, 6 episodes. Hopefully they don't say the directors. Okay, let's see.
I think it's just 2. Let me check.
And they're not related to the 2 main plots, or are they?
No, they're not. Well, I'll tell you the first one, because that's not the one that you should be able to guess. But it was the 4th episode, and it was Killers in the Diner.
Oh!
Which I like that episode.
Yeah, I really liked that episode a lot, too. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, more dialogue-focused for a lot of it. It's them in, like, 2 different outfits, and I'm like, is that just gonna be them? And it was, but they're just talking for, like, most of the time, and they have a big shootout. Mm-hmm. But the other one is Darwin's Bird, which is the one with, like, the angel flying overhead at the end.
Yeah.
And it's really weird, right at the end. Yeah. And it's like, Lupin and Fujiko are going to get this thing, and then really, it's not really Lupin. He's like, "Rugh."
Yeah, that one was weird.
Yeah.
I forgot.
And it's like an actual, like... Michael the Archangel is actually like a character. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. I like it, but it's one of the ones that I'm like, I feel like I need to rewatch that removed from the rest of this.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, God's canon. And
yeah. Well, I just mean like to absorb it, because I was watching it in a big chunk. Like I watched that in the middle of a huge chunk. I'm just like, okay. And then I continued on.
Yeah, it's like when the Jesus statue fucking winked at them.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good.
But I like both of his episodes, and I was watching... I looked this up after. There's this website called Lupin Central, and they, like, review every Lupin thing, and they were talking about that episode. And they were like, well, I'm only talking about it in regards to Lupin because I don't watch any other shows. And I'm like, what? You don't... And they were being genuine. They don't watch anything else. I'm like, that's insane.
Like... shows or media period?
Like, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. I can maybe see...
specifically, like, anime. They don't watch any anime but Lupin.
I was going to say, I could maybe see someone, like, you know, because it aired on Toonami back in the day, so I could see someone being like, I like this Lupin, and just watching Lupin.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that does strike me as odd, particularly because... Like, if that were, like, a series like Dragon Ball or Naruto, I could definitely see somebody being like, oh, yeah, I've only seen that. But Lupin's kind of a deep cut. So
it's also strange because it's also strange to have a website where you review something that you cannot, like, review in regards to someone else's other works or things similar to it. I'm like, I'm only reviewing it based on other episodes of Lupin. I'm like,
here is a
little strange.
Here's a pure Lupin echo chamber. I mean, if it is true,
that's a fun echo chamber to be in at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, if it's true, I mean, I'm sure it's probably an interesting perspective. The well water is unpoisoned there.
Well, that's what like, you know, imagine watching certain movies for the first time or never having seen, like, you've only ever seen like 5 movies in your life and you watch a movie that's like just incredible for the first time.
Most people wouldn't be able to handle the experience.
Yeah.
Like,
they'd explode.
Imagine if you had never watched a movie and I just put on Eraserhead. You would melt as a person. Yeah, you'd be like, ah! The chicken
what
would
is that baby?
The chicken would start like moving its legs and they'd be like, ah! But yeah.
But I actually think that Oshii could do maybe an interesting like mini series of like Lupin stuff.
Maybe a mini series. I could give him like a special or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, think about like I really like Pat Labor, you know.
I do like Pat Labor. I've only seen the movies and the miniseries.
Yeah, I guess I haven't seen the whole show yet. Well, there's so many things to watch, you know?
There are.
But I'm only going to watch Lupin and log into my account on lupincentral.com. That's so weird. Like, I cannot imagine doing that. Like, I love Star Wars. Also, we finished Andor. It's incredible.
Oh, nice.
It's done. You should watch it. The Andor season 2 is in like 2 years, but
maybe. I'm not. I have ADHD, so it's really hard for me to like bounce in between things with my mood.
I get it.
So
you did say it's the same way. So yeah. Eventually, you should watch it once you get back into a Star Wars mood.
I'll probably like find myself in a Star Trek mood, which will like probably curve into a fucking Star Wars mood, because that's usually what happens. I usually end up watching like 4 seasons of Star Trek, which is a lot of content. It's like several hours, and then I'm like, oh my god, okay, I need something else. And then I usually shift over to Star Wars because it's still sci-fi, but it's a different vibe. So,
but yeah, I just want to see different. I wish there was like an endless supply of Lupin. But yeah. I'm excited to see Lupin Zero, and I do need to watch more of Part 2. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm especially more compelled to watch it now that I've finished everything else besides Part 3. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, now I gotta go finish Part 2, and then I gotta finish Part 3. Like, I want to be able to be like, I've seen every episode of Lupin.
Yeah. I mean, we're almost there.
Not really.
Well, I guess in terms of the episode count, I guess I'm a little closer to you because I watched.
You've seen up to like 50 or something like that?
I watched into season 3, and that's where I tapered off. So
like 60?
Yeah, around 60-ish episodes.
So if we look at 60 there, 70 from part 4 through 7, so that's 130, another 27 or whatever from
I think 23 is the first part.
153 episodes. You still have like 90 more to go for...
I'm like... Yeah.
You're halfway there, pretty much.
Yeah. And I've seen...
Almost there!
And I've seen a fair amount of the specials.
Yeah, me
too.
I think
not all of them, but one day. Some of those middle era, like, ones where they have... Maybe I've just got a bias because the dub on them isn't Tony Oliver.
Or they're not dubbed. There's a lot that aren't dubbed in general. And I love the Lupin dub. Yeah. And I can handle the sub, but I'm just like, the Tony Oliver Lupin just has grown on me so much.
Shout out to fucking Discotech. They've been going back and dubbing a lot of those old specials that haven't been dubbed. And I mean, last year they went back and dubbed part 1, so I've really got my fingers crossed because it seems like they're really riding the Lupin train.
Yeah,
so
I would love if they dubbed all of part 2.
Yeah, like I'd love a redub for part 2, and I'd hope they'd include the original dub in the release for the sections where it does exist. And I really hope they get around to dubbing part 3, because that's one of the things that's probably held me back the most from watching part 3, because I like the sub enough, but like... Yeah, like you said, Tony Oliver just is the character.
Also, I think Michelle Ruff is Fujiko. Yeah, so
honestly, the entire cast.
Yeah, Richard Epcar.
I don't know the name of the guy who voices Goemon, but he's great too.
Mark? No, not Mark. I'm gonna fucking.
And it took me a while to get used to Zenigata 2.0, but I do quite like
Doug Erholtz. Yeah, he's. I think he's maybe the most unhinged in his voice in part 6. It's like even more like Lupin. I'm like, okay, maybe scale back just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a bit here and there. If you were dubbing part 2, that voice would be fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like that one's
Lex Ling.
I see. What a cool
He
name.
did Dr. Neo Cortex in Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, I was like, I don't know who that is. I didn't really play the Crash games. I played Jack and Daxter and Ty. What?
Ty?
Yeah, he's like a raccoon thief.
Yeah.
He's like Lupin. Yeah, he or I think he's a raccoon. He might be like a lemur or something. I don't remember. I didn't play a whole lot of that. Wait, no. Ty's a different character with a boomerang.
Yeah.
Who am I? I'm thinking of it. There's a thief raccoon.
Sly Cooper?
Yeah, Sly Cooper.
And the Thievius Raccoonus, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, is there another raccoon thief? And I'm like, probably. People steal ideas from each other all the time.
I'm just getting all my Naughty Dog-esque.
All my naughty ideas.
Fucking that PS2 platformer era of fucking games mixed up. But yeah, Lupin the Third Part 6.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah,
I really liked it.
Decent. I don't know. So
you liked it.
I liked it. Do you wanna rank the parts we've seen? We can
sure.
Instead of part 3, we can include Fujiko.
Okay. I think at the bottom of my list I would put Fujiko. I like what it's going for.
I'd agree.
It just doesn't. Its execution is just really muddled for me. Mm-hmm. And then I'd probably put part 1. I like part 1, and I think it's like, this is what gave us everything. But there are a lot of episodes that are just really forgettable in part 1 for me. Mm-hmm. And then I'd probably put part 6, just because of what we just talked about. And then probably part 4. And then, as it stands right now, with only seeing the first, bit of it, part 2, and then part 5. But if I watch all of part 2, I'm guessing that'll be at the top. They're pretty neck and neck up there for me.
Yeah. Mine's pretty similar to yours. I feel similar about Fujiko. 1 next. I would probably 6, and then probably 5, 4, 2.
Oh yeah, because you love Da Vinci. I forgot.
The Da Vinci part is my least favorite part of 4. I love Da Vinci. I think part 4 out of all of them had the most grandiose. It felt like a good comeback for the
That's
character.
Fair.
And I feel like that tone hasn't been, or that feeling hasn't been matched by the other parts that have come out since.
I do really like the Rebecca stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's maybe the best example of, you can, inject a new character into... I like Ami in part 5.
Yeah, I thought
but she's not, present all the time.
Yeah.
Rebecca's, a main character.
Yeah, I think at the time I was kind of lukewarm on Rebecca, because I thought she was, maybe a little too Fujiko-esque. But looking back on it, I think out of all these new characters they've been introducing in all the parts, her and Albert are probably the two that stand out the most to me.
Man, I really hope they do something with Albert, because there's this setup that, you could be this great, and I know you prefer episodic, but man, if they just, if they did, part 7, part 8, and then, but eventually, part 9 is, Albert's the final, that'd be so fucking sick if it's, this big sweeping thing.
Yeah, I prefer episodic, but I like the formula they've been doing. They keep tweaking it a little each time, and I feel like every time it's, not quite on the mark from what I want from the formula, but I do still like it. I think it works well. I think it could be done a lot better than they've been handling it, but hopes that they perfect it in parts to come.
So we're doing a deep dive next week. I almost picked Albert Pune. He was a director. He died today, I think.
Oh.
Or yesterday. He was the guy who did Doll Man. But he was like a low budget director. Mm-hmm. He did a bunch of stuff. He did the original 90s Captain America movie, which I haven't seen.
Oh,
okay. So actually, I'll just give you the choice. You can pick between him and Steven Spielberg.
Can I at least know what the Spielberg movies would be?
I picked 6. You don't have to do all 6. We can pick 5, but I picked 6 because I picked one from every decade that he's done. They're all movies I have not seen.
Okay. Well, there's been one particular Spielberg movie I've really been wanting to rewatch, so I'm interested to see if that's on the list.
What movie is that?
It's a little depressing film that came out in the 90s.
Was it with Qui-Gon Jinn?
It was.
It's on that list.
Okay.
So or we can do it with Pune, which will probably be a little zanier, a little wackier. Probably shorter as well, because most of these Spielberg movies are long.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually gone through some Spielberg. Let's do Spielberg.
Are you okay with doing one from every decade? So that'd be 6 instead of 5?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So from the 70s, Duel.
Okay.
Which is, I think his first movie that he did solo or something. From the 80s, Empire of the Sun, which has a super young Christian Bale in it, and John Malkovich is in it. From the 90s, Schindler's List. From the 2000s, this was a tough one, but I picked AI. From
the Kubrick one?
Yeah. From the 2010s, this was also a interesting one, but I picked The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh, okay.
And then from the 2020s, I picked his West Side Story adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Which came out last year.
Oh, that came out?
Yeah.
Did they eventually recast, what's his name?
No.
Oh, okay. Delightful. Okay.
Which, yeah. But I've heard that movie's really good, and I'm interested because I don't like the original.
I don't like the original either. Although, while I admit that I don't like it because of the racist things, but also I don't recall just enjoying the musical. So this should.
I like the music in it, and I like the dancing in it. I just think the acting in the original is really, really bad, and I think the character writing's really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Also, if you have time, you should go see the film. But you have 6 movies here, and fucking Schindler's List is 3.5 hours.
I think maybe it's 3.5.
3 hours and 15 minutes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So it's a good one. It's fucking heavy.
Yeah, I might save that for last. Most of these movies are 2.5 hours. The Duel is an hour and a half. Nice in and out. And then Tintin's 1 hour and 50 minutes. So.
Okay.
Empire of the Sun's 2.5. Artificial Intelligence 2.5. West Side Story is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So.
Okay.
But it'll be good. And you gotta finish Hunter x Hunter. All right. But yeah, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Screen Weens. We'll be back for Lupin in probably a month and a half.
Yeah, we'll probably.
That'll be the first thing we do in the new year.
We'll see. Because we're not out of parts, but I'm still fingers crossed that part 3 gets dubbed eventually. Yeah. Hopefully sooner than later. But if it comes down to it, we will cover it subbed.
Goodbye, everyone.